In the heart of Java, where mist hangs heavy over emerald rice fields, a lonely widow lived with a single, aching wish, the laughter of a child to fill her quiet home. Day after day, she tended her fields alone, her gaze often drifting to neighboring families, her heart filled with a silent longing. She would pray for hours under the ancient banyan tree, her whispers carried away by the gentle breeze, hoping the spirits would hear her plea. One evening, driven by desperation, she ventured deep into the shadowed forest, a place villagers dared not enter. As she prayed, the ground began to tremble. From the darkness, a colossal figure emerged, a giant with skin as green as moss and eyes that glowed with an eerie light. It was Buto Iho. His voice, a low rumble like shifting earth, echoed through the trees. "I can grant your wish," he boomed, "a child to call your own. But heed my words. When she comes of age, she will be mine." The widow's heart pounded. A child, but at what cost? Torn between her yearning and her fear, she saw no other way. With a trembling voice, she agreed. The giant smiled, a fearsome sight, and handed her a single, shimmering seed, a golden cucumber seed. His bargain was sealed. The widow planted the seed in her most fertile soil. Under the tropical sun, a vine grew with unnatural speed, snaking across the ground. Soon, a single, enormous golden cucumber hung from its stem, glowing with an inner light. One morning, a soft cracking sound echoed from the garden. The cucumber split open, and nestled inside, bathed in a warm, golden light, was a perfect baby girl. Tears of joy streamed down the widow's face as she cradled the infant. She named her Timun Mas, the golden cucumber. Years passed in a blur of happiness. Timun Mas grew into a bright, brave, and kind-hearted girl, her laughter finally filling the once silent house. But as Timun Mas blossomed into a young woman, a shadow fell over her mother's heart. The giant's promise loomed like a gathering storm. Whenever the dreadful bargain was spoken of, even in whispers, the sky outside would darken, a subtle, ominous sign. The widow knew her time of happiness was running out. She looked at her daughter, her precious gift, and her heart broke. She could not bear to lose her. In secret, filled with a desperate resolve, she began to prepare. She stitched 4 small cloth pouches, each filled with a seemingly simple item, her only hope against the coming darkness. The day arrived with a clap of thunder that shook the village to its core. The sky turned a menacing grey. He had returned. Buto Iho stood at the edge of the village, his massive form blotting out the sun. Panic erupted. Villagers screamed and fled, barring their doors. The widow grabbed Timun Mas, pressing the 4 small pouches into her hand. One held cucumber seeds, the next, a handful of sharp needles. The third contained salt, and the last, a pungent shrimp paste. "Run," her mother whispered, her voice choked with tears. "Run, my child, and whatever you do, do not look back." Timun Mas fled, her heart hammering against her ribs. She plunged into the dense jungle, the giant's thunderous footsteps shaking the very ground beneath her. He was getting closer. Remembering her mother's words, she tore open the first pouch and scattered the cucumber seeds behind her. In an instant, a magical forest erupted from the earth. Thick, thorny vines twisted and grew at an incredible rate, forming a dense, impenetrable wall. But it was not enough. With a furious roar, Buto Iho smashed through the magical barrier, his brute strength tearing the vines apart as if they were threads. He was gaining on her again. Timun Mas ran until her lungs burned, bursting out of the forest and into an open clearing. She fumbled for the second pouch, throwing the needles over her shoulder. The moment they hit the ground, they transformed, sprouting into a vast field of razor-sharp bamboo spikes, pointing to the sky. Buto Iho bellowed in agony as the spikes pierced his giant feet, but his rage was greater than his pain. He tore the bamboo from his flesh and continued his relentless pursuit, his roars of fury echoing behind her. Now, only the open plains lay ahead. With the giant closing in, Timun Mas threw the third pouch. A mountain of salt fell to the earth, and in a breathtaking rush, it dissolved and expanded, transforming the land into a vast, churning sea. A wall of water crashed towards the giant, swallowing the plains in an instant. For a moment, she thought she was safe. But then, a massive head broke the surface. Buto Iho, undeterred, began to swim across the magical ocean, his powerful strokes creating massive waves, his glowing eyes fixed on her. Exhausted and terrified, Timun Mas reached for the final pouch. It was her last hope. With a desperate prayer, she threw the pungent shrimp paste into the water. A foul stench filled the air. The sea began to hiss and bubble, the water turning thick and dark. The magical ocean transformed into a vast, boiling swamp of thick mud. Buto Iho roared as the scorching mud engulfed him, pulling him down. He struggled, his massive arms flailing, but the swamp was a powerful trap. Slower and slower, he sank, his hands reaching for the sky one last time before disappearing beneath the bubbling surface with a final, echoing roar. Silence fell. The dark clouds parted, and a gentle, golden sunrise broke through. The boiling swamp calmed, returning to a peaceful lake. Trembling, Timun Mas turned and saw her mother running towards her. They met in a tearful, desperate embrace, safe at last. For in the end, courage, love, and intelligence will always find a way to overcome even the most terrifying darkness. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this legend, don't forget to subscribe for more epic stories.